Hello, this is part 49 of our comparative Bible study on the beginning of Jesus Galilean Ministry. During this part, we would like to further discuss the pure in heart. Overall, this is our 89th New Testament Bible study. In New Testament Bible study 86, we read Matthew chapter 5, verse 8 from the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So what does it mean to be pure in heart? Let's start with the word heart. How does the Bible use this word? The underlying Greek word for heart in this verse is cardia. Let's look at a sampling of places where cardia is used in the New Testament. Many of you would probably not be too surprised to find out that sorrowing, rejoicing, and loving can take place in the cardia or heart. Maybe it would not even be too surprising to know that we believe with our heart. But how about knowledge in our heart or thought? Furthermore, imagination or reason in our hearts or understand with our heart. As it states in these verses, imagination of their hearts. Reason ye in your hearts. Understand with their heart. As I stated earlier, these verses are a sampling. I believe as you read the Bible, you'll see more and more of this. So if these functions like believing, knowledge, thought, imagination or reason, understanding take place in the heart, where is our heart? A couple of Bible studies ago, we read in Psalm 37, their sword shall enter into their own heart. So from looking at this, it appears the heart is located somewhere on the body where a sword can enter into. In Exodus 28, it states, Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart. So from this, it appears the heart is located where a breastplate would go, which would be in the chest area, which is probably not too surprising. Granted, these verses are in the Old Testament, so the underlying words would be in Hebrew. The underlying Hebrew words translated as heart in these two verses is leb. From Strong's Hebrew Dictionary, it appears this is a form of this other word, lebab, which is in the next three verses that we hope to discuss. Note, as usual, please don't rely on my pronunciations of these words because they could be incorrect. Also, using Strong's Concordance, it appears these two Hebrew words are used in the Bible hundreds of times. So please keep in mind that these verses are a sampling. Okay, let's look at those next three verses. Similar to the discussion in the New Testament, we do things with our heart that we would expect, such as love. But, as stated in Deuteronomy chapter 11, lay up these my words in your heart, which might be something that you would not expect to take place in a heart. Furthermore, notice how this verse, also in Deuteronomy, states, circumcise thine heart, or lebab in the Hebrew. Similarly, in the New Testament, for example, in Romans chapter 2, verse 29, it speaks of circumcision is that of the heart, or cardia in the Greek. Okay, let's move on. By the way, notice how I've highlighted the word soul in blue in these verses. It's interesting to me when certain words appear to show up together in verses over and over again. For example, in the last Bible study, I wondered if there was a possible reoccurring pattern of meekness or humbleness plus something else along the lines of lowliness or restraining ourselves or not vaunting ourselves. I'm not quite sure yet how to describe that second thing, if there is a recurring pattern in that instance. But in this case, heart and soul appears to be more of a definite reoccurring pattern, kind of like maybe widows and the fatherless seem to be more of a definite reoccurring pattern. At least that's the way that it seems to me now. For example, if you were to do a search in the King James Bible for heart and soul, it would seem that they would appear in the same verse about 40 times. If you looked at the underlying Greek and Hebrew words, that number goes up to about 57 times they appear in the same verse. Approximately, that was just based on doing some quick searches and adding the numbers together. Regardless of the exact number, that still seems like a lot. Could it be that these two different things are both sometimes needed to more completely cover the thing that's being discussed? For example, these 3 verses in Deuteronomy state, "Lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul." Next, to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul. Last, Deuteronomy 6:5 states, "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might." Notice how Deuteronomy chapter 6 includes this word might in addition to heart and soul, unlike Deuteronomy chapter 30, which only has heart and soul. Keeping that in mind, let's now compare Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 5 to verses in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark. Notice how in Matthew 22 it states, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind." Furthermore, in Mark chapter 12 it states, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength." These 2 excerpts record Jesus' response to questions concerning what was the first and greatest commandment. Could strength here in Mark chapter 12 verse 30 be the same as might here in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 5? Note also, mind is used in Matthew 22 verse 37 and Mark 12 verse 30. Why did the Lord Jesus use mind here? Could it be variations in the scope of the Hebrew words that are used? Does the Lord Jesus take things to their logical conclusion? What is meant by the word mind in these 2 verses? The underlying Greek word for mind here is dianoia. From using a computer program that uses Strong's Concordance, it appears dianoia is in the Bible about 13 times. It appears about 9 times it's translated as mind, once imagination, and about 3 times as understanding. The use of dianoia in Hebrews chapters 8 and 10 appears to be a quote from Jeremiah 31, which is simply translated as inward parts. Earlier in the Bible study, we looked at Luke chapter 1, verse 51. Could this have been translated to be talking about the inward parts, understanding, or mind of the heart? Or could dianoia in Matthew chapter 22 and Mark chapter 12 have been translated as inward parts, understanding, or imagination? Could it be if dianoia was translated in these 2 verses as understanding or imagination, that the Lord Jesus could have been telling us to love the Lord our God with the thing that does our believing, understanding, reasoning, imagination, knowing, thinking, and to love Him with our imaginations and understanding? Could loving God with our thinking or thoughts be comparable to loving Him with our strength or might? Could it be that if our believing, knowledge, thinking, imagination, reasoning, understanding were not so contaminated by the world that we could see God working in things? Could it be that those with circumcised hearts, and if we would purify our hearts more and more, we could see more and more evidence of God around us? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. How about with Jesus? Lord willing, maybe we can explore more in a future Bible study. Let's go ahead and conclude this Bible study. If I got to share anything good, it's a blessing from God. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.